Hello, friends. This is Sam Chaney reporting for Weaponized News. Today, December 23rd, 2025. Thank you for joining us on this Tuesday edition of Weaponized News. Happy Festivus. We're going to go over Festivus today. We got a lot of news today as we're on Christmas Eve. Things are winding down. And this is when the government does its most dirty deeds, you see, and they think no one's looking. It's hard. It's a lot harder now than it's ever been, but that has been the history of government doing its dirty deeds when no one's looking, or they think no one's looking. We're looking. Corrupt government. What do we got? We got story out of the failing New York Times worth going over here now about essentially pay for play going on there in the Trump administration. We're going to dig into that a little bit. We're going to go over Rand Paul's Festivus report for 2025. All this waste, fraud, and abuse, and outright crimes. I mean, it's quite horrific. We're going to go over that. We're going to go over California, the capital of fraud here in America. We've been reporting on the Somali fraud in Minnesota. They ain't got nothing on California. We're going to go over that. We're going to go over Epstein files. The DOJ released weaponized Epstein files here now today. The second tranche of files released. They've already broken the law, right? Because they were supposed to have released them all last Friday, and they didn't comply either with the spirit or the letter of the law. We'll go over what all, and they put out a warning going on with, that's their weaponization, to muddy the waters, flood the zone as it goes, as they say. So we don't know, which is what this whole, to leave that shadow of a doubt out there, which the DOJ has now created. We'll cover all that. Some bombshells, maybe, but then the DOJ is like, oh yeah, if it's what do they say? They say some of these documents contain untrue and sensational claims made against President Trump. And so that's your weaponization of the Epstein files here now. We'll cover all that. We have geopolitical news as well, and the genocide in Gaza continues. All of that to cover as well. And we have base Greta Thunberg. She got arrested in UK for being part of Palestinian Action prisoners. We'll cover that. What else is there? We got technocracy news, AI news, technocracy news. It does not look like we're going to get peace for Christmas in Russia, Ukraine. We're definitely not getting it in Gaza. But we're not getting it in Russia, Ukraine. And last week we had played the clip of Putin saying, well, we agree to the terms. They just launched another massive attack. We'll cover all that. It's horrific. It's horrific. It needs to end. It needs to end. And with that, where are we at here? Quite a bit of news and a bunch more news. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday. Happy Festivus. Again, let's get to this day in history and get to all this news for you today. Oh, and thank you. Push that like, share, subscribe button. We appreciate all the subscribers, the donors, the patrons to Weaponized News store. It is truly appreciated. Thank you very much. Without it, we wouldn't be able to do this show. We're not able to do this show anyway, but somehow, some way, your support and feedback does help a lot, and so it is appreciated truly from yours truly, Sam Chaney. And so I wish you and your family out there Merry Christmas. And I hope everybody's happy, healthy, and has a great time during this winter holiday, during the Christmas season. We're allowed to say Christmas, they say, again. So, but again, yeah, thank you, everybody. I truly do appreciate it as we're trying to break even in this operation, dare I say, to pay for the software. All my time, effort, and research is unpaid, basically. But anyhow, again, thank you for the donations, for the patronage to the Weaponized News store, and for your overall support. It is truly appreciated. Okay, with that, and apologies for yesterday's show with Simon. We had connection and audio issues for about the first half hour, but after that, it was pretty smooth, I think, and went very well. And we did quite a good job, I think, the last hour of the show. But that's up to you in the audience to decide. With that, let's get to this day in history and get to all the news of the day for you. In the year 1751, on this day of December 23rd, France sets plan to tax clergymen. The state has no shame in its taxation efforts, that's for sure. Taxation's theft. On this day in 1779, Benedict Arnold court-martialed, American Revolutionary officer Benedict Arnold court-martialed for improper conduct and profiteering. Wouldn't it be nice to bring back that mindset to the U.S. government? Washington resigns as Commander-in-Chief in 1783. On this day, U.S. General George Washington resigns his military commission as Commander-in-Chief of the Army to Congress. On this day, 1783. 1788, on this day, Maryland votes to cede a 10-mile square area for the District of Columbia, Freudian slip, District of Criminals. And so that's their little carve out that they think they rule the world from there out of D.C. under martial law, de facto, with National Guard, essentially military on the streets there now, all for your own safety, of course. In 1888, on this day, Vincent van Gogh cuts off part of his left ear with a razor after an argument with fellow painter Paul Gwyngin, and sends it to a female courtesan and safekeeper. Weird, right? Pretty weird. Anyway. And then the bane of our economic existence to this day, the bane of our economic existence to this day, and proof that until we have the government repealing the Federal Reserve Act, none of them are legitimate. On this day in 1913, then President Woodrow Wilson signs the Federal Reserve Act, establishing the modern central banking system of the United States to manage the money supply and promote financial stability, they say. And they have two mandates. They tell us at the Federal Reserve to maintain price stability and full employment. And they have clearly failed at both many times throughout history. And we can look about our recent history in the last 6 years as an example why, once again, the Federal Reserve Act needs to be repealed by Congress and the power to issue currency and credit put back underneath the Treasury Department, debt-free. And that's the only way we're ever going to fix the fiat debt-based monetary system. We're in the Great Reset right now, and it's not looking good. They're going to reset it with programmable digital money, i.e. social credit score, i.e. mark of the beast system. And it won't. And they've originally floated it out there as central bank digital currency. That didn't take. It will be the same thing by another name. Make no mistake about it. So, the bane of our economic existence, signed into law on this day, 1913, by Woodrow Wilson, the Federal Reserve Act. In 1933, on this day, false flag attack, right? I think it's thoroughly acknowledged that the Reichstag fire there in Germany was a false flag by the Nazis, but real people died, right? Well, this guy died. 1933, Ruckus, 33 on this day, Dutch communist Marius van der Lubbe, since the death for setting the fire, so for setting the German Reichstag on fire. That's their German parliament, right? And yeah, it turns out it was actually a false flag by the Nazis to garner support against the commies. The Reichstag fire there, where their patsy was sentenced to death on this day, 1933. On this day in 1947, transistor inventor. The transistor was invented by John Bardeen, Walter H. Brattain, and William Shockley, and is first published or publicly demonstrated at Bell Laboratories in Murray Hill, New Jersey. The transistor. That's that's like the basis, along with the chips, right, to where we're at today, building all this high technology. In 1954, on this day, we saw the first successful human kidney transplant performed by Dr. Joseph E. Murray at Peter Bent Brigham Hospital in Boston, Massachusetts. In 1971, on this day, U.S. President Richard Nixon commutes remaining 8 years of Teamsters labor union leader Jimmy Hoffa's 13-year jail term for bribery and fraud. And we still never found Jimmy Hoffa's body. Is he buried at the Meadowlands Stadium? We just don't know. In 1983, on this day, journal, quote, Science, that's the name of the journal, published first report on nuclear winter. And we're still looking for 100% proof that that said propaganda is even true. That's a show for another day. In 1994, on this day, Whitey Bulger flees Boston. Fearing arrest by FBI, organized crime boss Whitey Bulger flees Boston and successfully hides from law enforcement for the next 16 years. Yeah, I don't believe this. This is official. I believe he's a rat and he was working with the feds for a long friggin' time. Famed gangster out of Boston, Whitey Bulger. In 1997, on this day, Terry Nichols found guilty of manslaughter in Oklahoma bombing. The feds blew up Oklahoma City. Go look up, I believe the documentary film, A Noble Lie, is a good one about it. But there's a lot of evidence. If you go look into it, you will see that just like 9/11, go down the list. And if you actually look at the evidence, you look at what happened, the official story from the government is total bullshit, lies. It couldn't even happen the way they describe it. So yeah, the feds blew up Oklahoma City building there, killing a bunch of children in the feds daycare center, right? Yeah, they did. You better believe it. And then also on this day, we missed yesterday because due to the interest of time, I couldn't spend that much time because we had Simon on the line. But yesterday, on this day in our civil liberties history, I'm going to go back because this is a key in our civil liberties history. So on December 22nd, yesterday, right, in 1967, the CIA delivers second report on anti-war dissent. The CIA on December 22nd, 1967, delivered the second secret report on the anti-Vietnam War movement, which President Lyndon Johnson had ordered. Johnson ordered the CIA to spy on the anti-Vietnam War movement because he believed it was funded by foreign governments. The action was illegal as the CIA was barred by its charter from acting within the United States. The intel report, which the CIA delivered to Johnson on November 15th, 1967, concluded that there were no international connections between the anti-war movement and foreign governments. Johnson rejected that conclusion and ordered a new investigation. The report, a review of developments since November 15th, which reached the same conclusion, was delivered on this day. Johnson rejected it and ordered a third report, which the CIA delivered on January 5th, 1968, and was titled Student Dissent and Its Techniques in the United States. A fourth report was issued called A Restless Youth, and it was delivered on September 4th, 1968. The CIA domestic spying program expanded into the Chaos program, which the New York Times exposed on yesterday, right? December 22nd, 1974. The Times story provoked a political uproar that led President Gerald Ford to create the Rockefeller Commission to investigate the CIA. Pretty laughable, right? On January 4th, 1975, nevertheless, the Senate created the Church Committee on January 27, 1975, and the House established the Pike Committee on February 19, 1975, both of which investigated abuses by all of the intelligence agencies. The Vietnam War created a number of civil liberties crises. They include the lack of a congressional declaration of war as required by the Constitution, threats to freedom of the press in the Pentagon Papers case, spying on the anti-war movement by the CIA, threats to freedom of expression, for example, high school students protesting censorship of television programs, and directly and indirectly some of the events that led to the Watergate scandal. And that's pretty damn bad. It's 1,000 times worse today. It's 1,000 times worse. And then quickly, before we get into the news, back to that New York Times article from 1974 on December 22nd. New York Times exposes massive CIA spying on Americans. A front page story by reporter Seymour Hersh in the New York Times on this day, December 22nd, yesterday, right? As I explained, exposed a massive program of illegal spying on Americans by the CIA. The article reported that the CIA had files on over 10,000 Americans. Now they got a file on everybody, so it's wonderful. But it's just metadata, nothing to worry about. By its charter, the CIA is barred from gathering intelligence within the United States. The story created a political uproar, which triggered 3 investigations. We covered that. Any more else about it? Operation Chaos, brought to us by our loving CIA to keep us safe from ourselves. Why were they protesting the Vietnam War? Well, they got tired of seeing their friends coming home in caskets, you see. It must have been the damn foreign influence of the commies that caused them to not want to see their friends come home in caskets, their brothers. You know, it's just, duh. We're tired of seeing Joe from down the street come home in a freaking casket for your illegal foreign war of aggression in Vietnam. That's unconstitutional. You damn war criminal government. Like, it ain't hard to figure out, but hey, any excuse to let intelligence, CIA spy on Americans? Have at it. It's the damn commies. Pisses me off. No one gets in trouble as per usual, right? No one in it for the violation of our civil liberties here, which in reality is the only reason the government is supposed to exist through our consent, is to protect said civil liberties. Truly disgusting. Government's a crime syndicate. Okay, and with that, segue to the news. Here is clip from Seinfeld, Festivus airing of grievances.
What?
Nothing. It's a card from my dad.
Dear son, happy Festivus? Who's Festivus?
It's nothing. It's nothing.
When George was growing
Jerry,
up,
no.
his father hated all the commercial and religious aspects of Christmas, so he made up his own holiday. Happy Festivus. What's Festivus? When George was growing up, his father...
Nothing. It's nothing. It's a stupid holiday my father invented. It doesn't exist.
Happy Festivus, Georgie.
A new holiday was born. A Festivus for the rest of us. And at the Festivus dinner, you gather your family around and tell them all the ways they have disappointed you over the past year.
And is there a tree?
No, instead there's a pole. Requires no decoration. I find tinsel distracting.
Is that the pole?
George, Festivus is your heritage. It's part of who you are.
That's why I hate it.
Read that poem.
I can't read it. I need my glasses.
You don't need glasses, you're just weak. You're weak.
Leave him alone!
I find your belief system fascinating.
It's a Festivus miracle.
Welcome, newcomers. The tradition of Festivus begins with the airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now, you're gonna hear about it. You, Kroger. My son tells me your company stinks.
Frank, no offense, but this holiday's a little out there.
Kramer, you can't go. Who's going to do the feats of strength?
How about George?
And there's the annual Festivus. And of course, Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky has made this an annual airing of grievances against government. But again, I don't trust him or any other politician. But we'll go through the exercise and no one gets in trouble. Let's take a look. Rand Paul's airing of grievances against government. Festivus 2025 edition. Let's take a look. USAID gave EcoHealth Alliance $54 million for gain of function research on bats in Wuhan. NIH gave another $13.8 million to Fauci's Beagle experiments. NIH spent $5,215,216 to dose dogs with cocaine again. The USDA funded a $1 million collaboration to soup up bird flu with the Wuhan Institute of Virology parent organization and a researcher affiliated with WIV, Wuhan Institute of Virology. And no one gets in trouble, right? Is the theme. Here's the actual report. The Festivus report. And it's what, 19 pages? Delicious insects, you see. The Festivus report. Congress keeps shoveling money toward pet projects and special interests while hardworking Americans pay the price through inflation and crushing interest rates, even after President Trump took action to end most foreign aid programs, from a $20 billion bailout for Argentina to continued funding of global health programs through waivers. Washington found new ways to keep the cash flowing, And with every new handout, the mountain of debt grows higher. For the first time in 50 years, President Trump deployed a pocket recession, canceling a pocket rescission, canceling $5 billion in foreign aid and international organization funding. While it's a good start, it's just a drop in a bucket. The Congressional Budget Office predicts we will add an average of $23.9 trillion in debt annually for the next decade. The U.S. government will add over $6.53 billion of debt every single day for the next 10 years. Think about that. That's pretty staggering. The U.S. government will add over $6.53 billion of debt every single day for the next 10 years. We borrow over $272 million every hour. We borrow $4.54 million every minute. We borrow over $75,000 every second. Wow. And you say, who would credit these drunken sailor spenders? Well, no one except for, we got the big guns. So you can always say here now, with the dollar as the world reserve currency, losing status, but in a world of fiat debt-based currencies, the dollar is still king. But make no mistake about it, we are in the Great Reset right now. Let's blast through these. I'm not going to go one by one. There's too many, and we got a lot of news to cover. See if we can. TikTok therapy. Cartoon climate crusade in Pakistan. Doom scrolling studies. And it just goes on and on and on with a lot of pork barrel spending. Let me go through the details here, a little bit more details. It's at the Festivus report is at randpaul.com. You can find it on his X account. The link will be in Weaponized News Substack for those interested in being disgusted by what this government is borrowing money to do in our name as citizen taxpayers of America. We should all be disgusted. Satanists display Yule goat outside Michigan State Capitol. This is from the Temple of Satan out of Michigan. And again, these are not your real dark occultists running anything. These are cosplay people out there in the Temple of Satan that they want you to think, oh, these are the Satanists. Maybe they are, but not so much. You see, the real Satanists are wearing suits and ties, and they're not telling you they're Satanists. But here is a Wicked-themed display that was set up on the Capitol lawn in Lansing, Michigan. The Yule goat is two concepts: a celebration of our place in the greater community and a reminder that our idols should always be temporary and evolving. Here is said Yule goat. And so that's what the LARPing Satanists out of the Satanic Temple in Michigan put up there. And of course, they know it's going to trigger Christians, right? And others. But again, remember that the real Satanists, which believe in what? Worship yourself, worship human intellect, essentially. And it's a lot deeper than that. Anyhow, yeah. But hey, if you truly believe in the Bill of Rights, then you have freedom of religion in this country. And the Satanists are free to worship however they may choose. Just throwing that out there. We can say it's wrong. We disagree with it. It's not a healthy lifestyle. You know what I mean? But hey, freedom of religion here in America. Continuing. Again, they're telling you, Trump's telling you, if you didn't already know, he's an actor. And this is political theater. Here's Trump about being the master of ceremonies at the Kennedy Center's honors to be aired tonight. Live event. The Trump Kennedy Center honors. Remember, Trump put his name on the building. Here now, ridiculously enough. The Trump Kennedy Center honors will be broadcast tonight on ZBS and streaming on Paramount Plus. Tune in at 8 Eastern. Well, don't tune in them. Tune in to Weaponized News. That's the same time we're up against the Trump Kennedy Center honors. Anyhow, he goes on to say, at the request of the board and just about everyone else in America, I'm hosting the event. Tell me what you think of my master of ceremony ability. If really good, would you like me to leave the presidency in order to make hosting a full-time job? It already is. We will be honoring true greats in the history of entertainment. Sylvester Stallone, Michael Crawford, Kiss, George Strait, and Gloria Gaynor. So right here, yeah, he's always the master of ceremony because this is all a theater. His role as president is fake. He's an actor. It's wrestling. He's a master of ceremonies. They tell you many ways, many times. Read between the lines. Understand what they're saying. Here's Trump on the economy. The Trump rule, he yells from a True Social post. Let's go over this. The Trump rule. The financial news today was great. GDP up 4.2% as opposed to the predicted 2.5%. And this despite the downward pressure of the recent Democrat shutdown. But in the modern market, when you have good news, the market stays even or goes down because Wall Street's heads are wired differently than they used to be. In the old days, when there was good news, the market went up. Nowadays, when there's good news, the market goes down because everybody thinks the interest rates will be immediately lifted to take care of potential inflation. That means that essentially we can never have a great market again. Those markets from the time when our nation was building up and becoming great, stronger markets, even phenomenal markets, don't cause inflation. Stupidity does. Again, it's not stupid. It's by design, and it's stupid to even suggest that they're stupid. They know exactly what they're doing at the Federal Reserve. But the same old, they're just dumb politicians. They're just dumb bankers. No, they know exactly what they're doing. So that's a lame excuse used to not hold people accountable for their malice actions against us. Continuing, I want my new Fed chair to lower interest rates if the market is doing well, not destroy the market for no reason whatsoever. I want to have a market the likes of which we haven't had in many decades. A market that goes up on good news and down on bad news, the way it should be and the way it was. Trump is backhandedly calling for even more market manipulation power from his bully pulpit as puppet president of America. Read between the lines. Inflation will take care of itself, and if it doesn't, we can always raise rates at the appropriate time, but the appropriate time is not to kill rallies, which could lift our nation by 10, 15, or even 20 GDP points in a year, and maybe even more than that. A nation can never be economically great if, quote, eggheads are allowed to do everything within their power to destroy the upward slope. We're going to be encouraging the good market to get better rather than make it impossible for it to do so. We are going to see numbers that are far more natural, far better than they have ever been before. We are going to make America great again. The United States should be rewarded for success, not brought down by it. Anybody that disagrees with me will never be the Fed chairman. No talk of ending the Fed, of repealing the Federal Reserve Act, which is well within the power of Congress and the president. So it's all fake. Trump's full of shit, you see. He's a puppet of the international bank cartel, same as all the rest. What else do we got? Yeah, they're pumping fake GDP numbers, if we can believe that. Trump boom, U.S. economy grows 4.3%, fastest in 2 years, smashing expectations. Sure. More economic news here. U.S. set to garnish wages for student debt collection in 2026. So the first notices of wage garnishment will be sent out the week of January 7th to 1,000 borrowers who haven't made a payment in over a year. The number of borrowers targeted will increase each month, according to the Treasury Department or the U.S. Department of Education. And so again, you should pay off your debt, but where's the punishment for the predatory lenders that got these 18-year-old kids into untenable debt for their college degree? No accountability. Let's look at the, quote, adults in the room, the scam artists that scam these kids. Both parties shall be accountable, but the banks not accountable. Just your poor students here now trying to pay off the debt. Hopefully their degree that they put all this money into can give them a return on investment. Maybe not so much, you see. And the banks go on stealing from everyone and running scams on the youth of America. Predatory lending. It's disgusting. I'm telling you. They tried. Nobody can stop President from delivering the American people. Really? He's on a mission to deliver big, beautiful tax returns to Americans. The government had to steal your money from you before they could give you the tax return. They're acting as like it's some big gift. It's not. Taxation's theft. End individual income tax. But they're pumping this propaganda. The biggest tax returns in history. How about this idea, criminal government? You let us keep our money. We'll do with what we see fit. Instead of this giant list of waste, fraud, and abuse outlined in the Festivus report by Rand Paul, and that's just a tiny bit. And so you're illegitimate government at this point in time. Hundreds of big post-election donors have benefited from Trump return to office. Report out of the failing New York Times. Let's take a look at it. Let's take a look at this report. This is the thumbnail showing you. Oh, but they care about The little people, let me tell you. The president's team has created a highly unusual fund-raising apparatus for causes he favors. The Times analyzed more than $500 million in contributions from 346 donors. Some have received pardons, jobs, access to the president, and other valuable gains. It's an investment in corruption. It's an investment in technocracy. It's an investment to essentially bribe Trump and the Trump administration and call it what? Fundraising for the inauguration. No, it's called bribery pay for play schemes. And we see all of your usual suspect characters, all these big tech characters, all gave a bunch of money right here, right? Google, Apple. This guy's now the head of NASA, right? Jared Isaacman. He gave $3 million. Well, now you get to run NASA, you see. Sergey Brin, Sundar Pichai, Bill Gates, you see, IBM, OpenAI, Sam Altman, AMD, a chip maker. You see how all this is. You see how all this is. Since President Trump was elected a second time, he and his allies have raised nearly $2 billion for his favored political causes and passion projects. The total, which was confirmed by 4 people involved in fundraising, likely eclipses the amount raised to support his 2024 campaign. The astonishing haul hints at a level of transactionalism for which it is difficult to find obvious comparisons in modern American history. Don the con. And they have a nice little graphic here breaking it down. Each of these dots represents a person or a company that is given at least $250,000 to a group or project supported by Trump during the second term. The president's inaugural committee raised nearly $240 million, more than double the record, which Trump himself set in 2017. The 284 donors shown here each gave at least $250,000. And see, they care about you and me, Joe Blow, taxpayer, make America great again. Did you give $250,000? Because you can't even acknowledge your existence. Go take another miracle. You know what I'm saying? After Trump won, the fundraising didn't stop for a super PAC devoted to him and run by his advisors. At least 81 donors gave $250,000 or more to MAGA Inc. It raised $200 million from November 7th, 2024 to June 30th, 2025. According to Trump, $350 million has been raised for the White House Ballroom project, which is largely being processed by the Trust for the National Mall. The Times has identified pledged or completed donations from 14 ballroom donors, which amount to about $100 million. And they name them all right there. Too many to name. The biggest donors to the White House Historical Association to support this year's Easter egg roll include 4 shown here, where we're offered new types of branding opportunities and access to an event beforehand with Melania Trump, the First Lady. So Dawn the Con has monetized the position of Chief Executive of America here now. And as we continue to report, this is your corporate technocracy government, America 250. The president's team has also raised money for America 250, a nonprofit group that was formed to produce celebrations for the country's semi-quincentennial birthday, 250, right? 8 of the donors identified by the Times sponsored the group after the 2024 election. No, they just care about America and feeding you GMOs there. One of those. Of the 346 donors identified by the Times, at least 197 have benefited or are in industries that have benefited from policies or actions of Trump or his administration. Those include pardons, favorable regulatory moves, the dropping of legal cases, access to the president, and more. Hover over each of the circles and you can learn about how bad we're being screwed by all these insiders right here, because they care about you. Let me tell you, Trump cares about you. He's making America great again. You see, you just don't understand. There's a secret plan for him to be able to steal as much as humanly possible. And so they go through the list, the big donors here from around the world. Foreign influence, dare I say? Well, where donors received ambassadorships. So that's a cushy job, and God only knows what they're doing as ambassadors, right? Don't they have this diplomatic immunity? I believe they do. So you can basically, you're above the law as a global, a globetrotter, right? And you can do whatever you like. And we know what they're into, which ain't nothing nice. So yeah, buy a ticket to become an ambassador and become above the law with diplomatic immunity. And then if you ever do get in trouble, pay a little bit more, and I'm sure Trump will pardon you. Anyhow, it goes on. This is your technocracy right here. It goes on. The link will be at Weaponized News Substack if you want to dig in that truly disgusting display of pay for play and corruption out of the Trump White House. Continuing here, back to our Advent calendar by American Design at merrychristmas.gov. Today on the 23rd, we see Dazzle camouflage ship painting, United States and Allied Forces, 1917 to 1945. Dazzle camouflage was designed to confuse rather than conceal. Bold, high contrast geometric patterns were painted onto ships to distort perception, making it difficult for enemy observers to judge a vessel's speed, direction, and distance. This uncertainty reduced the accuracy of submarine and artillery attacks at sea. Dazzle remains a powerful example of how art, optics, and human perception were deliberately used to protect soldiers, civilians, and critical supply routes during both world wars. All wars are racket and all wars are bankers' wars. So never forget these facts. But yeah, if we could get a few less servicemen killed, that's also a bonus here, right? And they're claiming that this Dazzle camouflage painted on ships may have helped in the cause. Yeah, and you can see here through this illustration, merchant vessel Dazzle painted as seen through a submarine periscope. Yeah, it looks pretty funky, right? Same vessel on identical course painted gray. Yeah, could see how that could work, right? Wild. The model of USS Olympia Dazzle painted. That's pretty wild, right? Looks like a drunken zebra. Something psychedelic, funky is going on here. More examples. Okay, where are we at? Let me scroll down. Anything else interesting here? Yeah, it's a nice painting a nice painting of the Dazzle ship painting right there. Okay. Interesting. I did not know that. So happy 23rd of December on our America by Design, merrychristmas.gov. Continuing here on to California. And now all of these San Francisco, all these rich, let me quantify it there, all these rich California, San Francisco Bay Area liberals are up in arms about PG&E's recent power outage. And now they're jumping up and down. Where have you guys been? When Joe Blow, California citizen, is having a hell of a time even paying the power bill. But hey, now they notice when they're affected. Of course, not by the price of electricity, but because of the outage. Tom Steyer, billionaire, running for U.S. governor, or a U.S. California governor, he had this to say. He said PG&E had record profits last year at $2.5 billion. Its CEO made $51 million in 2021, all while Californians pay 2 times as much for electricity, with blackouts more than 2 times the length of the national average. We need structural change. Yeah, where you been, Tom Steyer, for the last freaking 20 years? But again, they don't speak out until it affects them. Here is video from California billionaire, liberal environmentalist out of San Francisco, Tom Steyer, finally noticing some of the corruption. Sure did take you long enough, Tom Steyer.
PG&E really pisses me off. Our electricity bills are the second highest in the United States of America, after Hawaii. As governor, I'm going to cut utility rates by 25%. By introducing competition, we took on big oil with Prop 23. We have to take on these electric monopolies. If we break up the monopolistic power utilities, we'll drive down costs. I'm Tom Steyer. We need to get back to basics.
Yeah, sure, dude. It is good and true what he's saying, but to trust this guy to implement it, good luck. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's a state granted monopoly, is, you see, I guess they are all, right? And then here's I can't stomach this guy, man. Scott Wiener, California state senator out of the Bay Area. He says, I'm not even going to play the video because I can't stomach this guy. He's just a freak show, right? He's famous for authoring the legislation where if there's a 10-year gap, so a 24-year-old could sodomize a 14-year-old male and not be put on the sex offender registry if a judge sees fit here now. And so he's famous for authoring that legislation, amongst other natural rights violating legislation here out of the state of California. But on this issue, he says, I'm introducing legislation to let San Francisco break up with PG&E after this weekend's fiasco. What about the rest of us, dude? Yeah, I guess it is his district there. So for those that missed the fiasco, they had a power outage for a day and a half. The stupid Waymo robo-taxis didn't run anymore. They had no power, blocking traffic. But the good side of it, not killing anybody's pets anymore, as we continue to report. These robo-taxis run over cats, dogs. I haven't seen the young kids yet. I'm sure that's next. And so he goes on to say, I refuse to sit back and let giant corporations put profit over people. when backhandedly that's why they're even doing politics in California. So very disingenuous, but at least they finally have put out the idea that, yeah, we're getting effed over by PG&E here in California big time because it's a state-granted monopoly. You have PG&E in the north and the central, and then you have SoCal Edison in Southern California. So essentially a duopoly on providing electricity here now in California. And they don't let you live off the grid. You say, well, screw those guys. I'll just get my own solar panels or cook up whatever. I'll live next to the river and do, hydroelectricity. Any of this kind of ideas, forget about it. If you're not hooked up to the grid, the government will come and condemn your property and seize it. And so you're forced to be part of their grid. On to California, the fraud capital of America. Here's Congressman Kevin Kiley out of Yuba City area in Northern California, just north of Sacramento. So Newsom put this out, and it's the same old BS, right? Republican, Democrat. No, it's the government. So Newsom put this out. Inflation is up, unemployment is up, groceries are up, electricity costs are up, and Donald Trump is spending his time doing this BS. All this is true, but Republican Kiley replies, California has the nation's highest cost of living. California has the nation's highest unemployment. California has the nation's highest electricity rates, and the governor of California pinned post is an ad for his new book. Yeah, they're all profiteering off their positions in government. We just went over Trump's profiteering, and don't you think that this Democrat will do the same? You better believe it. You better believe it. Failing grades for Newsom from his own state auditor. Again, post by Kiley. Our own state auditor confirms that Newsom has made California the fraud capital of America. A scathing report identifies 8 separate state agencies as high risk. This means they exhibit serious waste, fraud, and abuse or mismanagement, costing taxpayers billions. And yet no one gets in trouble because government is an organized crime syndicate. California is the fraud capital of America, Kevin Kiley tells us. $32 billion in unemployment fraud, $24 billion in homeless funds lost, $18 billion on non-essential bullet train, $650 million on scrapped 911 system, 911 system. A scathing report from the state auditor just identified 8 separate state agencies. It's way more than that, right? It's way more than that. This means they exhibit serious waste, fraud, and abuse or mismanagement, costing the taxpayers billions. The number has doubled during Newsom's tenure. The number has doubled during Newsom's tenure. And still, no one gets in trouble. They steal billions from us, and no one gets in trouble. Let's hear a short clip from old Kiley on Newsmax about this issue.
California Congressman Kevin Kiley, he is sounding the alarm in his home state, saying under Governor Gavin Newsom's leadership, it has become the, quote, fraud capital of America.
And we have team coverage. Our national correspondent, Alana Austin, is on Capitol Hill with more on the investigations into Tim Walz. But we start with correspondent Heather Myers, who has more on what is going on in California. A rainy day out there on the West Coast. Heather, what can you tell us?
Well, good afternoon to you, Katrina and Andrew. This latest report was issued by the state auditor, and that's a nonpartisan position. That state auditor now puts 8 state agencies on the high-risk list of agencies to watch out for things like fraud and mismanagement as well as waste. Here's a look at that 92-page report. Newly added to the high-risk list is California's food stamp program. If the state doesn't get the improper payments under control, it could cost an extra $2.5 billion. Also on there is the Department of Finance, which was tasked with giving out COVID relief funds. Critics say $32 billion of that was taken by fraudsters. Then there are infrastructure issues like California's deteriorating dams and also the high-speed train that's already cost taxpayers $18 billion without a single section of track complete. Other reports cite $24 billion spent on the homeless issue that critics claim the state lost track of. More recently, there's a report that says California cell phone users paid a surcharge for years to upgrade the state's 911 system. Here's Congressman Kevin Kiley talking about what happened to that plan.
That after spending $650 million on that system, the state is totally scrapping it and starting over, completely wasting the money because the technology doesn't work. Mind you, we are very close to Silicon Valley in Sacramento, and yet the government can't figure out how to make basic technology perform.
Oh, they can figure it out. They stole all that money, you see, and no one gets in trouble. With that, let's go ahead and take our live commercial break here. Everybody go to weaponizednews.com store. First link in the description below. Get yourself a sticker over there, the holograph sticker, a white background sticker. You can line them up here so you can see what I'm talking about. The classic Weaponized News logo. We have 3 stickers, the clear background. Put it on your laptop, your bumper, your guitar, your work locker, your hard hat out there on the job, as we have had listeners do, and we appreciate those listeners out there. Thank you very much for your efforts to help support independent reporting and analysis here at Weaponized News, brought to you 5 days a week, as per usual, discounting the holiday schedule. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in today to this broadcast for the Weaponized News store. Let me just pull it up here quickly. weaponizednews.com. And I've been working, by the way, I had a lot of work to clean up the website here now because I'm trying to get back in the good graces. A bunch of administrative stuff behind the scenes. Anyhow, I've been doing a lot of work on the back end of weaponizednews.com. Anyhow, just to let you know, here's the store. So simply weaponizednews.com/shop, or push the store button here. We have pet ID tags, a bunch of different custom t-shirts, a few books over there. Forbidden Masonic objects planted in the founding of the U.S. is particularly interesting one. There's a few others there. We have baby gear, baby onesies, little beanies. We have baseball caps with the Weaponized News logo. Quite a few items over there at the Weaponized News shop. The classic black on black Weaponized News shirt, camouflage hat, many other items. Go check it out. We truly appreciate your support. We're not in any position of power or influence to take bribes, or I'm sure we would. Just kidding. I would never work for the crime syndicate known as government. So we rely on you, the listeners out there. And again, we appreciate the donations we've gotten, the patrons to the store, and the subscriptions as well. Thank you, everyone out there on the internet, for your support and watching the show. Go to weaponizednews.com/shop. And with that, welcome back to the second half of Weaponized News on this December 23rd, 2025, Festivus Grievance Day edition. And that's basically the theme of the show every day as we air our grievances against the crime syndicate known as the government. Here's a sad story from my youth. MTV to shut down remaining music channels. Many say it's Mason TV, as in Freemason, and brainwashed and corrupted the youth. But I don't know. You know what I mean? I thought it was damn good when they. I remember growing up, and they used to play music videos 24/7, as compared to it morphed into reality TV shows, and it just the quality of the programming. And remember, what was the first song? It was Video Killed the Radio Star, right? And so anyhow, I remember many wasted hours of my youth watching MTV there, which is no more. MTV to shut down remaining music channels, the end of an era, ending 44-year era in television history. Regional broadcasters weigh in. Everybody's sad about it. So there you go. No more music television or Mason television for us. Do we have based Hunter Biden? How's this guy still not in trouble with all the just weirdness that has come about him? You know what I mean? But somehow he's still on the street. Oh, he got pardoned by his father. Oh, okay. By an auto pin. Now here's Hunter Biden trying to be based. They're all based now, right?
But again, I'll say this. You know what? That's your algorithm, man. Okay? Because here's the deal. Is that no one that I know of, okay, that would say that they're a Democrat. I don't even know if I'm a Democrat anymore. I don't know if I'm a part of any political, because it's just like, pox on all your houses, in my opinion. But not that you shouldn't engage in the political process. It's like, I'm just talking about the parties. I think it's like imperative that we don't give up on politics as a solution. We got it. Because what's the alternative? I mean, truly, if the politics and process aren't a solution.
Sadly, there is no political solution, Mr. Corruption, Hunter Biden. Sadly. Epstein Files' latest batch from DOJ includes a personal letter, emails, and heavily redacted documents. And then here's your weaponization by the Department of Justice of the Epstein Files. The Department of Justice has officially released nearly 30,000 more pages of documents related to Jeffrey Epstein. Some of these documents contain untrue and sensationalist claims made against President Trump that were submitted to the FBI right before the 2020 election. To be clear, the claims are unfounded and false, and if they had a shred of credibility, they certainly would have been weaponized against President Trump already. Nevertheless, out of our commitment to the law and transparency, they already broke the law. Who cares? And transparency, the first tranche of documents, 90% plus, was redacted. Who cares? The DOJ is releasing these documents with the legally required protections for the Epstein victims. And then they got community noted again here on the X. The community note reads, the claim of commitment to transparency is unfounded. DOJ missed the December 9th deadline mandated by the bipartisan Epstein Files Transparency Act. Releases only partial, heavily redacted files, and now faces bipartisan criticism for non-compliance and excessive redactions. They're lying again, as if we thought anything different. But yeah, so they've weaponized here now. They have weaponized the Epstein files and muddied the waters to such an extent. Let's go over some of these, some of the most salacious claims. Remember old Larry Nassar? Remember him? The Olympics gym team physician that systemically molested girls. Remember that? He's convicted of it. There's a handwritten letter in there in the latest dump of Epstein files, allegedly from Larry Nassar to Jeffrey Epstein, or a letter from Jeffrey Epstein to Larry Nassar. And the Department of Justice tells us that's fake. They say the FBI is confirmed, which we can totally trust and never lied to us, right? So this is what I mean by weaponization of it. They're muddying the waters on purpose here now. The FBI has confirmed this alleged letter from Jeffrey Epstein to Larry Nassar is fake. The fake letter was received by the jail and flagged for the FBI at the time. The FBI made this conclusion based on the following facts. By the way, the feds blew up Oklahoma City. They blew up that building, killed a bunch of kids under the Clinton administration. So, but yeah, I would trust the FBI. But you see what I mean by the muddying of the waters? The weaponization of the Epstein files by the Department of Justice. Another report here. We got a bunch of them. Let me try to blast through these. And again, you got to do your own research, make your own decision. I'm not saying any of this is true. I get the FBI is saying it's not true. If it's bad against Trump, you decide out there in the audience. Who knows? You know what I mean? Who knows? We'll never get to the truth of this. An email sent from Balsmorrow shows Andrew writing to Ghislaine Maxwell asking, have you found me some new inappropriate friends? Prince Andrew's already been stripped of his royal titles and kicked out of the state. And so he's been, why is he not in jail? You know what I mean? But seems like on the surface, the royal family has punished old Prince Andrew. New Epstein files, Trump accused in 1995 rape claim, victim later found dead. This is a very interesting one. A Dallas limo driver said he nearly pulled over to confront Trump after hearing disturbing comments about abusing some girl during a 1995 ride. A girl later told the driver that Donald J. Trump had raped her along with Jeffrey Epstein. She was later found dead, her head blown off in Kiefer, Oklahoma. Officers said there was no way it was suicide, though it was ruled as a suicide. And here is said document. Again, you got to do your own research. You got to do your own research on this stuff and come up with your own conclusions about this. A cab driver flagged down police after taking two girls estimated to be 15 and 17 years old to Epstein's Palm Beach home on August 10, 2004. He told officers the girls talked about how much money they'd make dating in Palm Beach and possible drug use. Police began low-level surveillance and trash pulls, but no arrest or charges followed at that time. This was months before a 14-year-old's stepmother launched the major investigation. Again, here are said reports, all muddy as is by design. What's this one? Epstein feared returning to his cell where he got strangled. Epstein's claiming he was attacked by his cellie in one of these reports from the jail. Epstein had fake passports. We saw in that first dump a bunch of fake passports for girls. DOJ released an Austrian passport containing Epstein's photo, but issued under the name Maurice Robert Fortellini. A fake passport listed his birth as Vienna, his birthplace as Vienna, and his residence as Saudi Arabia. His profession listed as a manager. It's part of the dump today. Why is his brother not in jail? Mark Epstein, right? This guy's always running around the media making salacious claims. Mark Epstein told FBI his brother was murdered, claims Trump authorized it. On February 22nd, 2023, Mark Epstein submitted a tip to the FBI alleging that Jeffrey Epstein was murdered in his cell. He claimed Epstein was killed because he was about to name names. I believe President Trump authorized his murder, the report adds. The report was filed through the FBI's National Threat Operations Center. The tip was marked as non-emergency with no active threat to life. Here is said report. Trump princess yacht hat found among Epstein's belongings. A hat embroidered with, quote, Trump princess. The name of Trump's former yacht was found in the Epstein files. The hat features gold embroidery and nautical styling, appearing well worn. Trump owned the luxury yacht in the late 80s after purchasing it from Adnan Khashoggi. Its presence among Epstein's possessions raises new questions about their earlier ties. Here is said yachting hat, Trump princess. Survivor says she was kept in stalls and raped as a child by Epstein. He said, I was an animal. A trafficking victim describes being blindfolded and taken to an underground site where she and other girls were held in horse stalls like cells to be viewed by Epstein and groups of men. She says Epstein insulted her appearance, forced her to perform for approval, and raped her, then told her she was evil because she liked it. Girls who performed well enough were sent upstairs or lined up for men. She describes naked photos of girls covering the walls and being told to pray hard enough to be worthy. In another statement, she says she was trafficked from early childhood, sold across state lines by her own parents, and raped by Epstein in the Virgin Islands where she was still a minor. I was kept in a stall so that the men could look at me. He said I was an animal. There's the accusation made by Epstein victim. DOJ subpoenaed Trump's Mar-a-Lago in Ghislaine Maxwell case. The documents released today reveal that the U.S. District Court subpoenaed Mar-a-Lago in 2021 for any and all employee records related to a redacted individual, possibly Virginia Giuffre. We don't know. They're redacted for their own protection, even if they're dead. They care about the victims, let me tell you. The subpoena dated October 5th, 2021 was issued as part of the DOJ case against Ghislaine Maxwell. It required Trump's resort to produce records and testify in court in connection with Maxwell's sex trafficking trial. This is the first known instance of Mar-a-Lago being formally tied to court proceedings in the Maxwell investigation. There it is. There it is. Continuing, where are we at here? Another one of these documents suggests Trump is caught on film sexually abusing victims, redacted witness victim claims, knowledge of criminal activity spanning multiple U.S. states, including incidents occurring on airplanes, etc. The same witness alleges the existence of films of men who were recorded, including prominent figures such as Epstein, Bill Clinton, and Trump, raping girls. You see right here. Donald Trump had invited them all to the party at Mar-a-Lago. Wasn't that kind of party. It was for prostitutes. An Epstein survivor testified that she was raped by Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. We already covered that one, right? But was later found dead with a head blowing off. It was suicide, you see. A complaint from 2020 reveals that a minor was sexually abused by Maxwell while Epstein watched at a remote property owned by Epstein in New Mexico, the Zorro Ranch, right? Stuff's horrific. It's friggin' dark and horrific. And then again, the Department of Justice is now looking into the validity. We covered that. Never mind. It's quite a bit to go over. Yeah, we covered that. Let's see where we at. And I don't know if this is true. I didn't have time to try it, honestly, and gathering all the news for you, but you may try it. Again, just go to DOJ website. You can find it, or the links to these files, Weaponized News Substack, and have at it. But there's a claim now going on the interwebs, and I don't know if it's true or not because I haven't tried it myself. But there's a claim that the DOJ did a very sloppy job in their redaction, and they're claiming that if you take a redacted PDF and cut and paste it into a Word document, you can actually see what has been redacted. Let's take a look at this short TikTok video claiming as such.
Oh, look at this pesky redaction. Let's just get rid of that. That is insane. This is what happens when you fire government. Oh, look at.
So I don't know if this is true. I don't know if any of the claims there are made are any of the claims made are true. Again, the FBI has weaponized the Epstein files here now on purpose, of course. Nah, they just didn't know any better, right? Trump traveled on Epstein's private jet many more times than previously known or had been reported. He's listed as passenger on at least 8 flights between 1993 and 1996. And there's a whole lot more, and I'm sure more digging will, the digging and investigation will continue. And again, you have to do your own research on this stuff. But the DOJ has weaponized the Epstein files, sadly. Okay, continuing here. We got a lot more news to get to. U.S. watchdog found that F-35 jets were ready to fly only about 50% of the time, well below requirements due to maintenance failures by Lockheed Martin, according to a report out of Reuters. Give the Pentagon and the military-industrial complex another blank check for over $1 trillion. Thank you very much, Congress and President Trump. We salute your dedication to the black hole known as the Pentagon budget. The FCC bans imports of Chinese-made drones. U.S. drone makers are happy. U.S. drone hobbyists, not so much. So you're not going to be able to buy your Chinese drones anymore, as their import has been banned. From the Department of War, restoring the warrior ethos, reestablishing deterrence, rebuilding standards focused on lethality, mediocrity, accountability, and readiness. 1 year in, Trump and Hegseth's ambitious agenda to strengthen the military one change at a time. Again, war's a racket. All wars are bankers' wars. This is a giant fraud. But here is. Yeah, we're not going to have time to go through this today. But here is from your Department of War. Department of War year in review. We'll circle back to that. Raggedy Ann. The Golden Fleet, we briefly covered that yesterday. Here's a short propaganda clip about the Trump Golden Fleet announced yesterday. Trump announces the Navy's new battleship. Here's propaganda video from the White House about the Golden Fleet.
As Commander-in-Chief, it's my great honor to announce that I have approved a plan for the Navy to begin the construction of 2 brand new, very large, the largest we've ever built, battleships. These are the best in the world. They'll be the fastest, the biggest, and by far 100 times more powerful than any battleship ever built. America's battleships have always been unmistakable symbols of national power. They'll help maintain American military supremacy, revive the American shipbuilding industry, and inspire fear in America's enemies all over the world. Today's announcement is yet another step in our mission to make the United States Navy stronger than ever before.
More on the Golden Fleet. Here are images. Trump-class USS Defiant. And Ruckus, it's not America anymore. It's called Trumpica. You see? Trumpica. Here's a few images put out by the White House of the new Golden Fleet here, right? I found this one particularly interesting. They literally show the direct energy weapons, the lasers right here. You know what I mean? Trump-class USS Defiant. Really? And they're gonna have this stupid thing. Really? Come on, man. Of his fake assassination in Butler, Pennsylvania. Come on, man. Really? That's what the artist rendition here now provided by the White House says. They're going to have this fight. Fight. Mm-hmm. J.D. Vance LARPing here with U.S. Navy SEALs. Here's Mr. Technocracy. J.D. Vance. Peter Thiel puppet. He's out there working out with the U.S. Navy SEALs. Well, go fight the wars then, Mr. Vice President J.D. Vance. You love war so damn much. And again, extrajudicial illegal assassinations by the Trump administration. It was announced yesterday by U.S. Southcom. They whacked another one of these boats. And again, They may be the worst criminals in the world. You still need to arrest them, bring evidence to court, try them, convict them, so on and so on. How our alleged system of justice, due process, rule of law in America works. Yeah, they don't care. And so trust your lying government. And here's video of them whacking another alleged narco trafficking drug boat. This one, Southcom says, as part of Joint Task Force Southern Sphere, conducted a lethal kinetic strike on a low-profile vessel operated by designated terrorist organizations in international waters. Intelligence confirmed the low-profile vessel was transiting along known narco trafficking routes in the Eastern Pacific and was engaged in narco trafficking operations. One male narco terrorist was confirmed killed during this action. No U.S. forces were harmed. Here is video of this assassination by the government. Yeah, it's real bad. And that September 2nd, second whacking, that's real bad, allegedly. It hasn't been released. It won't be released because it's video, by all accounts, essentially, of the U.S. government murdering people in cold blood. Continuing, the U.S. has deployed special operations aircraft and troops to the Caribbean, expanding military operations as Trump intensifies pressure on Venezuela's Maduro. The buildup includes CV-22 Ospreys and cargo planes carrying personnel and equipment alongside naval forces and advanced aircraft already in the region, according to a report out of the Wall Street Journal. As the military buildup continues, as we're waiting to see when the attack on mainland Venezuela will occur. U.S. envoy Mike Walls of Signal Gate fame is now the U.S. envoy to the UN, making the case at the UN. He says the single most serious threat to this hemisphere is from transnational terrorists and criminal groups. These cartels are not like the mafia. They are sophisticated, very technically capable, well-financed, and wreaking havoc in our region. He also went on to say, why have sanctions if unenforced? The United States under Trump is enforcing them in international waters. Otherwise, they're just empty words. So sanctions are an economic act of war, and they've turned it into a hot act of war. If you violate U.S. sanctions, you will be whacked, as evidenced by said alleged narco trafficking vessels. Walls went on to say, at the UN, the United States will impose and enforce sanctions to the maximum extent and deprive Maduro of resources he uses to fund, quote, Cartel de los Sols. It's literally made up. It's bullshit. It's lies by your U.S. government. He went on to say, which the United States has designated a foreign terrorist organization along with Trin de Agra. And we went over that. The Cartel de los Sols was set up by the CIA. And we played that report from freaking ZBS News. Sanctioned oil tankers operate as the primary economic lifeline for Maduro and his illegitimate regime. Waltz went on to tell the UN. And what is Russia and China's take on all this? As we're moving into, as we continue to report, a new world order, a new era of multipolarity. Well, Russia's envoy to the UN, Neb Binza, I believe is how you pronounce his last name, he had to say on Russia's behalf in this regard to aggression against Venezuela, we firmly condemn the seizure of petroleum tankers and the effective blockade of Venezuela, which constitute a clear act of aggression. This intervention risks becoming a template for future actions against Latin American states under the Monroe Doctrine. Indeed. China and Russia voice support for Venezuela as U.S. aggression in the Caribbean escalates. Russia and China have voiced support for Venezuela as U.S. intensifies what it describes as a blockade of sanctioned oil tankers, escalating pressure on Maduro. As port activity in Venezuela slows, Trump has renewed calls for Maduro to step aside and said the U.S. would keep or sell oil seized from Venezuela. Since Washington announced last week that it would target sanctioned tankers entering or leaving Venezuela, oil shipments have stalled. According to Reuters, most vessels are now moving crude only between domestic ports, while millions of barrels remain stranded offshore as buyers seek deeper discounts to offset the risks. The slowdown follows a series of U.S. acts of piracy, including the seizure of a China-bound tanker over the weekend. We covered that yesterday. China's foreign ministry condemned the interception as a violation of international law and rejected what it called unilateral and illegal sanctions, stressing that Venezuela has a right to maintain relations with other countries. Russia echoed those concerns with its foreign ministry warning that Washington's actions in the Caribbean could destabilize the region and endanger international shipping. Both Beijing and Moscow reaffirmed their support for Venezuela's government as the standoff continues to widen beyond bilateral U.S. pressure. All right, where are we at here? Let's get through this. We still have quite a bit. Lo-fi criminal illegal alien naughty list, and the White House has been streaming this all day. Breaking Santa's naughty list, the worst of the worst lo-fi edition. And I don't know, this is probably on a loop or something at the White House X account. And they're streaming this all day long. U.S. Department of Justice sues Illinois Governor Pritzker over state law restricting immigration arrests. A recently signed Illinois law bans civil immigration arrests at courthouses and allows people to file civil lawsuits if they believe federal agents have violated their constitutional rights. The Department of Justice said states may not limit the work done by the federal government. States' rights, anyone? The 10th Amendment? Yeah, who cares? You know what I mean? So, well, I guess we'll follow that case. Meme of the day from the White House. Self-deport before Christmas CBP home app. Stealing from the Nightmare Before Christmas theme there, as you can see with their meme. Meme of the day from Department of Homeland Security. Be the right person at the right place. Apply to join the Justice Department and become a part of the crime syndicate. Oh, no, they left that part out. It's all for, rule of law and justice. And here's meme of the day from the Department of Homeland Security. They're unconstitutional, and so their existence is illegal. But who cares about that? We have a war on terror to fight and a war on you damn Americans to fight, you see. Help write the next chapter of America. Apply to become a deportation judge. Join.justice.gov. Meme of the day from the Department of Homeland Security. Operation Angel's Honor, a massive 14-day nationwide ICE operation in honor of Lincoln Riley, of course, famously killed by an illegal alien. This national operation resulted in over 1,000 criminal illegal aliens arrested. Meet some of the worst of the worst. And what is it? Now I forget the website, but you could go look at the DHS database. What is it? DHS.gov/wow, I think, something like that. The worst of the worst. You can look them up. Ice Barbie had this to say. We covered it yesterday. Self-deportation through the CBP Home app is the best gift an illegal alien can give themselves and their family this holiday season. Illegal aliens who self-deport using the CBP Home app before the end of the year can receive $3,000 exit bonus and a free flight home. Isn't that very generous of the Department of Homeland Security? And here's the video of the day, the troll of the day by Border Patrol. Avoid ICE air and Santa's naughty list. Self-deport with, again, CBP app. Earn $3,000 and spend Christmas at home with your loved ones. Holiday incentive is valid through the end of 2024. Here's the trolling video of Santa working for the feds as an ICE agent. Merry Christmas, illegal aliens. Seriously. That's right from the government, from U.S. immigrant. That's right from ICE, right? They're using our tax money to produce this garbage. AI slop. Anyone? Okay, technocracy news. This was reported yesterday. We didn't get around to it, or maybe we briefly touched on it. Anyhow, the Department of War to expand AI arsenal on GenAI.mil with XAI. This is your technocracy. War Department officially entered into agreement with XAI. So X is weaponized against you. Make no mistake about it, as is all social media. It was invented to track, trace, profile you, censor you, and social engineer you. That's what this social media was invented by the military, DARPA. That's what it was for. That's what the internet in and of itself is for. You see? But now it's official. The Department of War to expand AI arsenal on GenAI.mil with XAI contract. Realize the internet is weaponized. And I don't know if this is a real video, fake. At this point, question everything. We have to. But allegedly, and this is from Russia State TV, they say massive textile factory, 0 humans visible, 5,000 looms running 24/7 on AI. They're saying this is a full AI factory in China. Let's take a look at the video. You decide. I don't know if that's real. Looks like an AI video to me. You know what I mean? But if that's real, and they already have it dialed in like that, well, damn. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's good for the poor Chinese that are working in these, in these textile factories under sweatshops, right? Under slave labor conditions. But now what do those Chinese workers do. You know what I mean? So I believe that's a look at the future that's coming at us very fast. Right there, fully AI run textile factory out of China. U.S. sanctions Europe for censoring Americans. And so the EU has issued sanctions, or they fined, right? They fined, they have fined, let's see, let's put it in context. U.S. State Department bans leading figures of global censorship industrial complex from entering the United States. The Trump administration will no longer tolerate these egregious acts of extraterritorial censorship, according to little Marco Rubio. For far too long, ideologues in Europe have led organized efforts to coerce American platforms to punish American viewpoints they oppose. That's called racketeering. The Trump administration will no longer tolerate these egregious acts of extraterritorial censorship. That's right. That's right. The U.S. government are going to be weaponized against you Americans. So don't you worry about the Europeans. We got our own weaponization program here now. And so who do they, U.S. sanctions Europeans for censoring Americans, it claims, the State Department claims. Thurey Brenton, behind Digital Services Act, has been sanctioned. Amran Ahmad Center for Countering Digital Hate, sanctioned. Claire Mulford, Global Disinformation Index, sanctioned. Anna Leanne von Holdenberg, Hate Aid, censored. And Josephine Balloon, Hate Aid, sanctioned. I think I said censored. Or they're censored and sanctioned now. And if they drive a boat, watch out. Okay, more of how they're all actors, and this is all political theater. One of the greatest American exports is our culture and talent, little Marco said. This is propaganda from your U.S. State Department.
It's an extraordinary honor to be here with all of you, to welcome you here to this room and to this place. One of the great American exports is our culture and our talent. In many cases, the first thing that people learn about our country is through our culture, through our entertainment, be it our movies or our television or our music or our musicals or our bands or our actors. And so we are grateful and honored to be able to host this event tonight on the eve of tomorrow's ceremonies and tomorrow's celebration of this incredible American talent.
These exceptional individuals have spent their lives making the most of their incredible God-given talents. They have talent. They have talent. Thank you very much, everybody, for being here. It's a great honor to have you. Thank you very much.
One of our greatest exports is propaganda, essentially, is what they're emitting right there. 2025 diplomatic wins. We touched on that briefly. The State Department, it was reported earlier today out of Al Jazeera that Libyan government officials have died in a plane crash. The Army Chief of Staff, the Ground Forces Chief, and the head of military manufacturing, and the Chief of Staff advisor all died in this plane crash here now. Turkish airspace closed after contact lost with jet carrying Libya's Chief of General Staff. I'm sure it was all just legitimate plane crash there, right? Right. Okay. Trump went on to say yesterday, we need Greenland for national security. We have to have it. We need Greenland to implement the technocracy, the technate, you see. And you go back and look at these old maps, they got Greenland right on there, North American Union, so on and so on. And so that's really why we need Greenland. And, of course, the new Arctic trade routes that are being developed with icebreakers, and there's going to, well, the Arctic trade route is going to be contested between Russia, China, America, others. And so we do need Greenland there for the national security of technocracy. You see, Trump always leaves that part out. Finland raised the reservist age limit to 65, as what Simon was reporting yesterday. UK military top guy was saying, yeah, get ready for your young sons and daughters to go to war, as is the sentiment across NATO. Finland's been mouthing off quite a bit lately. The law adds about 125,000 reservists over time, growing the reserve to roughly 1 million in Finland by 2031. Russia launched a massive missile and drone strike last night, hitting Ukraine's energy grid. 600 plus drones and dozens of missiles targeted power infrastructure, especially in Western Ukraine. Nearly total blackouts. Did they target? Never mind. Let me just stay here. Seriously. Civilians killed and injured, homes and critical infrastructure damaged. The attack came days before Christmas, described by Ukrainian officials as deliberate energy terror during winter. Both sides, Ukraine and Russia, are continually attacking each other's energy infrastructure. And so, looks like no peace deal by Christmas here between Russia, Ukraine. We want peace there. No more killings. Here's video of Greta Thunberg. They're protesting the Gaza genocide in London, getting arrested. Dare I say, based Greta Thunberg?
I'll just quickly sort of plug that. What?
I don't agree with her activism on climate change, but on this, I don't see how anyone could disagree at this point. So Greta Thunberg, they're getting arrested in London, protesting the genocide in Gaza. Where are we at here? How much we got? A few more reports and about 5 minutes left, right? We're going to keep it at 2 hours today. Well, we need to cover this, I suppose. Genocide profiteers. Aardvark arms firms credit use of Aardvark weapons on Palestinians in Gaza to global profits. According to a Dropsite News investigation, executives from Aardvark Land's leading weapons companies used a military technology conference in Tel Aviv to openly link the market value of their products to their use on Palestinians in Gaza. As I keep telling you, it's a laboratory for genocide, and you better believe they're going to bring everything they learned there right back to you and me in good old US of A. Recordings obtained by Dropsite from earlier this December Defense Tech Week conference capture remarks by senior figures in Aardvark aerospace industry, Elbit Systems, and Raphael, as well as officials from the Defense Ministry. The comments built on Aardvark Land's historical use of the arms industry for marketing weapons as combat proven through deployment under occupation and practice documented by journalist Anthony Lowenstein in the Palestinian laboratory. At Defense Tech Week, executives suggested the current assault on Gaza had strengthened Aardvarkland's standing as a global arms supplier. IAI CEO Levy said the war had validated many of the company's systems for international buyers, while Defense Ministry Director General Army Barma described Aardvarkland's weapons as proven in real combat rather than theoretical projects. Industry data suggests this rhetoric aligns with raising sales. According to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, 3 major aardvark arms firms increased combined revenues by 16% to $16.2 billion, despite growing international condemnation of Aardvarkland's war crimes in Gaza. Conference speakers acknowledged boycott pressures, citing restrictions at events like the Paris Air Show, but emphasized that exports now make up a vast majority of their business, underscoring the expanded role of aardvark weapons in conflicts far beyond Gaza. Well, isn't it wonderful for the munition makers that are out of Aardvarkland? Genocide profiteering. The International Criminal Court, ICJ, not to be confused with the ICC, announces that Belgium has filed a declaration of intervention in the case of the application of the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide in the Gaza Strip. South Africa versus Aardvarkland is the case. The Declaration of Intervention would allow Belgium to give its interpretation of the Genocide Convention, the 1948 Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. And I'm sure, time to sanction Belgium, you know? So there's a ceasefire. We've had peace in the Middle East for the first time in 3,000 years, Trump tells us. Well, it's a funny ceasefire they got going on because the Gaza Ministry of Health tells us that in the past 24 hours, 5 more Palestinians have been killed, including one new one and 3 others injured. So I guess they killed one and pulled 4 more out of the rubble. And so since the ceasefire of October 11th, 2025, the total of Palestinians killed is 406, total injured 1,118, and total bodies recovered from the rubble 653. So quite a ceasefire, you see. Aardvarkland attacks on Gaza have killed 411, injured over 1,100, despite ceasefire, media officials say. Yeah, the Aardvarkland has violated the ceasefire agreement in Gaza, a documented 875 times. How's that a ceasefire? I don't know. First time we had peace in the Middle East in 3,000 years. There's no freaking ceasefire, man. Quit it. Quit it. Just quit it, all right? When they're reporting of dead bodies today, dead Palestinians today, there's no ceasefire. Relevant government bodies have documented 875 violations of the ceasefire agreement, including 265 incidents of direct gunfire against civilians, 49 cases of military vehicles advancing into residential neighborhoods, 421 attacks involving shelling and targeting of unarmed civilians and their homes, and 150 incidences involving the demolition and destruction of homes, institutions, and civilian buildings. And that's your aardvark ceasefire, according to a report from Gaza Government Media Office. Quite an image here. New satellite images confirm aardvark land continues systemic destruction of Gaza despite ceasefire. And quite an image here. Quite an image here. I guess that's your new home in Gaza. It's an A-frame made out of rubble, right? Damn, man. Damn. Let's pray for the people of Palestine. And you have to pray for your enemies too, right? So pray for the aardvarks too, man. That God would touch their heart and make them stop the genocide. It's just truly horrific. It is truly horrific. And yeah, we've seen it. We've showed it here. But yeah, when the image, should we even pull it up? I don't know. It's just, wow, dude. There was something there, and now there's a pile of rubble. But I would say this is quite an iconic image right here, and this is probably enough for today. Right? Wow. All right. Last report, and again, we're going to have to circle back to the interest of time here now. Briefly mentioned yesterday. We may take a look later in the week. What is today? Tuesday. We're off tomorrow and Christmas. We'll be back here on Friday. We'll be back here on Friday, day after Christmas, to see what has all transpired. I'm taking off tomorrow, Christmas Eve, and I'm taking off Christmas Day, but I will be back here on Friday. What is it? Friday the 26th, right? Same bat time, same bat channels. 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern, Weaponized News. We have a few items of interest and whatever develops in the news between now and then to report on to you. But this third edition of the Guide for Developing a National Cybersecurity Strategy, published yesterday by the United Nations. And so we're going to take a look at this, if there's anything of particular interest regards to technocracy and whatever other tyranny they're cooking up for us there out of the United Nations. But if you want to get an early start, the links to all this stuff will be at Weaponized News Substack, published later this evening, and to most of everything that we covered today. And so the Department of Justice has weaponized the Epstein files now. And let's pray for peace this Christmas season and not forget the reason for the season. Whatever you believe, it's not the correct date. I've heard all the arguments, right? It's not the correct date of baby Jesus' birth, but that's why we're celebrating it, right? That's why we're celebrating Christmas, is the birth of Jesus Christ. And so that's the spirit of the season here now. Let's not forget why we're celebrating this season. And let's pray for peace in all of these wars around the world, but especially Russia, Ukraine, and the Gaza genocide. And pray for God to move the hearts of these aardvarks, man, and to move the hearts of the intelligence agencies on top of it, pulling all the strings as we continue to report. And people maybe, possibly, are finally waking up that, yeah, blame aardvarks all day long. That's a dead end. And Western intelligence, UK, City of London are sitting on top of it, pulling the strings as the marionettes of the puppets. And that's not to forgive any of the evil done by the aardvarks, but you got to, not let them be the scapegoat and say, aardvark bad, end all be all. No, it's more complicated. and more sophisticated than all of that. And they do make a great scapegoat. So let's remember all of this during this Christmas season. And let's go now quickly to the channels. Let's take a look at Odysee. If anyone's on the Odysee chat, give them some shout outs. We have a couple over there. We have Gurr. Shout out to you, Gurr. Hope you're feeling better. Hey, Sam, it's Tuesday for you. Wednesday over here, though. They're way ahead over there. I'm not a fan either. Would you believe Snowden picked up the BS climate hysteria for, yeah. Let's see. We must reject the digital ID. Indeed. Reject the digital ID. Feels like they're not going to give us a choice at some point. We're just simply not going to have a choice. But yeah, non-comply. Do not comply if at all possible. And then, the whole thing is, well, I'm not going to comply. And people have been trying this forever, right? I'm going to go build a hippie commune in the woods. Well, yeah, they're going to send weaponized drones to you now here at this point. And so you're going to be part of technocracy one way or another as they summarily go about their depopulation agenda as well. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, we're looking for solutions. But as long as the large majority of Americans are out there still caught up in politics, blame the Republicans, blame the Democrats. There is no political solution to being controlled by the central banking cartel. Now, is there? Because they're all puppets of said central banking cartel. Are aardvarks at Google going to exile from censorship America? They may very well, John. They may very well. Stallone looked bored. Did he take? I don't know. Yeah, I do follow Mark Crispin Miller on the Substack, and he does keep a list of those who died suddenly, sadly, suspiciously behind the bat miracles. You know what I mean? And so he is a good follow over there on the Substack. Mark Crispin Miller, professor out of New York, I believe. But yeah, very good follow. John, thank you for mentioning him. Those sneaky aardvarks have kill switches built into key sectors in the United States and other countries as a result of Intel plant in aardvark land. They probably blackmail a lot of people to pull that off. Indeed. And they have their true believers, and we're learning now that, we've known for a while, but the more you start thinking about it, you go, hey, wait a minute. The internet, all this big tech came from government, right? It came from the military. It came from DARPA. And so, of course, that's why they gave it to us with the back doors built in, right? And you have true believers, too. Straight up spies, right? Straight up government behind all of this. Indeed. Backdoors built into everything, man. And like I say, 15 years ago, Kurt McKenzie, engineer at Intel in the Bay Area, told me personally, he said, aardvark land has built backdoors into all these chips, right? And I didn't even know what it meant when he told me that at that time. I was just like, huh? You know what I mean? But he gave me a big old data dump, right? Great American patriot, Kurt McKenzie. Kirk McKenzie. And I interviewed him several times. You may be able to still find him. He gave great presentations to the Tea Party, trying to wake them up. You know what I mean? And back when he was talking about this stuff, it went over almost everybody's head. I'll admit, it went over my head, but I remember what he told me. And just like, damn, man, damn. You know what I mean? It's been going on a long, long time. Thank you guys for tuning in on the Odysee, the Bitchute, the Kick, Facebook, Twitch, Rumble, and YouTube. Lively chats over there. Thank you guys very much. Yeah, it's a ceasefire on paper as they stack up the bodies. So lies that bind, said on the Rumble. Isn't Netanyahu already convicted of genocide? Yeah, he is convicted of genocide. There's international arrest warrants out for him that allegedly Ma'am Danny, mayor-elect of New York City, is going to enforce. We're going to find out if they're going to, how all this is going to sort out. Where are we at here? Greta does nothing that is not scripted. Yeah, probably true. Probably true. But hey, in this instance, it looks like for a good cause to me, anyhow. Okay. Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy Festivus to you. Again, I'll be back on Friday. And with that, as always, do your own research. Peace, love, and freedom. Speak out and take action. Have a great rest of your Tuesday evening, Christmas Eve tomorrow, and Christmas Day. We'll see you back here on Friday, December 26th for more weaponized news.